Hi, I'm Ben Pullinger, CEO of ATEX Resources, currently trading on the TSXV under the ticker ATX. Recently announced a new partnership with Agnico Eagle, who have come in to be the 13% shareholder of ATEX, finance us through our Phase 5 program and beyond, as we are currently ramping up 2 drill rigs turning, looking to get to 5 by the end of the year, and looking to deliver a brand new sparkly resource by July, August next year. It's always good to be here.
A sparkly one.
Sparkly is good.
You've got some gold and silver in there, so that's fine.
We've actually got probably north of 10 million ounces of gold now to go along with all that copper.
It's very sparkly indeed. Well, I hear the conference going well. Lots of meetings, existing shareholders.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But you don't need them.
We love all of our shareholders equally, especially the ones that buy on markets. Yeah.
Well, obviously the big news is obviously Agnico Eagle. That's kind of big boy territory
Getting
now.
a lot of questions on that.
Yeah. Look, and one, they put in a chunk of change, but two, they've seen something in this project that they like. So, what were those discussions like?
Look, I think if you look at it from from their stated goals of investment, like Agnico likes to be in existing camps where they can leverage their expertise, they can leverage the ultimate infrastructure and grow from there. Like what they did at the Abitibi is that. The other thing is they like to be part of long life assets, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think if you imagine a world in which Valeriano is in production, if it's a 10 million ton per annum, it's a smaller side. That's a 200-year life of mine of what we have already. And if you ramp that up to over time to 20 million tons per annum, it's still 100 years. So that long life, big jurisdiction, right place. And I think what you're seeing as well is I think in order for, this is Ben Pullinger, this is not an Agnico. They're the second biggest gold company by market cap right now.
Yeah.
They are growing into big boy territory, and when you want to be in the biggest projects in the world, Chile is where you want to be. So I think it's a very bold step and statement by them. And obviously, the team that they sent to site that I had the privilege to work with, I was at the site visit with the team. Brilliant. Like some of the best guys. I can see why Agnico is doing things that they're doing, and just it was a very good cultural fit from ATEX, Agnico, and obviously we fit the criteria for which they look for investing.
Right, for them, it's not a lot of money. It's an opening gambit. They've got a few bets around the world. What is their expectation of you? They like the asset, but what have you got to do in terms of moving that forward now?
I think we continue to do what we've been doing, being a very efficient explorer. I mean, if you look at what we've done over the last 3 years, almost 90% or 90 cents in every dollar raised has gone into the ground. So we want to keep that track record. They want to see us continue to focus on, if you look at the last 2 drill holes, two of the last 3 drill holes that we put out at the end of Phase 4, they were our highest grade holes on the project to date. Hole 26, which hit, if you use our metallurgical recoveries, 95% for copper, 94% gold, had 100 meters at 2% copper equivalent. Hole 16A, which we're following up on right now, we'll talk about that later, hit 112 meters of 1.5%. So they, I very much joke, we're still the Facebook. We don't know what this project is. We know it's big.
Yeah.
We know there's a lot of potential for growth. Yeah. And now we're seeing some of the higher grade stuff, which makes it more exciting from an eventual kind of payback scenario, which is, I think, what we want to de-risk right now. So I think they want to see us continue business as usual. They want to see us focus on these higher grades, de-risk things, and also now be in a position where we have the capital to start thinking long term. Now, we're currently doing a metallurgical program. We've got 1.6 tons of material getting smashed and crashed and recovered and floated. And so we're seeing what those results come out, and that will come out hopefully before the end of the year here. Yeah. And I think, again, just business as usual. I'd say we should see the same kind of opportunities. And now we can also start to look at kind of like longer term opportunities, like thinking about project access, thinking about what this district looks like in 10 years and the role that we play.
Right. Big companies want to backfill their reserves and resources, right? That's the number one game. We want to make sure we've got the stuff when we need it. They operate at a different pace. They've got the balance sheet to be able to do that. Does that help you guys now? Do you, think long term? I mean, we don't need to rush into trying to get into production and show that we've got the ability to make cash, because we don't want to build too big a kind of CapEx requirement here. Things change, don't they, with a player like this on board?
I think it takes a lot of, in one hand, it takes a lot of pressure off. Is that, we're not at, they are a 13% shareholder and they can go up to 20%, which would be great, a great validation for us, and we hope they get there. And they are involved. They are going to be involved technically and like in an advisory capacity as well, which is great because I mean Agnico, without a doubt, are one of the most efficient underground miners on the planet. So their input now, like again, understanding where we need to get to in the future to kind of backfill that with the drilling and the geology, I think is going to be very valuable. And I think, it takes the pressure off, and that they're not putting pressure on us to get an economic study out right now, right? For example, they want to see how we drill this, like where the grade is, what else can we find, like what is it? Like they very much, I think, focused and partnering with understand what this could be beyond where it is today, and looking at the opportunities to de-risk it along the way.
So how do your normal, like, you're here seeing lots of retail shareholders, and you still have a big retail component to this. Industry views it very differently from retail in the markets generally. How do you kind of paint that picture for retail and say, look, these guys, Agnico Eagle, one of the biggest companies in the world, would suggest we come at it slightly differently, but let me help you value what we're going to be doing going forward. Generates a slightly different narrative.
I think yes and no. I think that's what a retail shareholder wants you to do is they want to put in risk capital. Want you to take that risk capital to de-risk something and gather value along the way. I mean, a lot of people, we still only own 49% of the project, moving to 100%. That's a big de-risking event for us over time, and we look forward to.
Timing of that again, sorry.
So we have one more payment to make of $8 million, which 50% is at the election of the vendor to take in stock, which would be great for us. So that's something that we can de-risk. The other thing we de-risk the geology by drilling. So going back to that. The retail shareholder, I think, that invested in ATEX understands that this is a big project. They've seen what's happened with NGEX, now a $2 billion company. They've seen what happened with Philo, getting taken out for $4.5 billion. They see little old ATEX, or little new ATEX, I should say, kind of pushing it through $300 million Canadian right now, and bringing in Agnico in. So I think when you have Pierre Lassonde and Agnico Eagle as your two major shareholders, if you're a retail shareholder right now, you're co-investing with those. So you're seeing de-risking just in fact of the quality. I don't have to worry about my next paycheck, right?
Yeah.
So then the next thing obviously is we want to keep on drilling, we want to keep on adding value. But I think a retail shareholder doesn't need the validation that you now get with putting out the documentation that supports the next resource and a PA and all those steps. In the kind of like the overview of having these people who know what these projects look like continue to support their investment. So I think it de-risks. I think what this does is it actually de-risks it for retail shareholders. It de-risks it for institutional shareholders as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, in a world of haves and have-nots, which we unfortunately find ourselves in, there are a lot of orphans out there. We are clearly not an orphan.
Yeah.
We've got two very strong kind of parents, so to speak. And that are committed to this project. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to have conversations about technical risk, because I think you've proven, the team have proven time after time that everything is in hand. I do want to talk about the share register a little bit longer, if I may, because it's that kind of evolution from 300 million to something more. Agnico Eagle in there, and the register kind of it's moving towards the institutional side of things. How do you evolve things? You want liquidity from retail, and it's great, but you also need to start talking to some of these bigger banks, some of these bigger investor groups. What's that process look like?
I mean, it's really interesting actually, because look, if I put my very optimistic, I'm an exploration geologist by heart, but I write a business story, need to be risk averse at the same time. But at a $300 million market cap, like there's still a huge amount of value, right? Like I think we can very clearly see a path. And if you look at the other comparators out in the market, just to de-risk in this next drill program and get this next resource, I think I can make a statement that there's a value proposition that has another zero behind it there, right? So we're no longer, as you say, we're like a lot of the initial shareholders, they're looking for that 100,000x, right? We don't need those. We love having those, and we still think there's like a couple 100% here if we get up to a much higher valuation. But we're looking for people that are less risk capital, more momentum trading, and more commodity specific trading. So, and people that can write bigger tickets. So it's exactly what you said. At $300 million, at kind of like I think we're just over $1 million a day in liquidity, we are triggering the appetite of those people, of those bigger funds that need to be able to trade in and out of the story, that need to see a market cap that means they can own a meaningful position. So it is changing the way that we focus in terms of where we look for our next shareholders. But I mean, coming back to the 121 London, where I talked to you from today, it's been very refreshing that over the last couple of years I've been coming here. The meetings that I'm having are with shareholders that bought when we were 70 cents. They bought again when we were 80 cents. Now they're buying again at $1.50, and it's keeping that narrative going. And I mean, talking about, we didn't speak so long ago, we're talking about like doing the things that we say we're going to do. We're talking about, how are you going to finance the next program? Like, how are you doing the strategic process? We knocked those two out of the.
You knew Agnico was there when I spoke to you in September.
I knew that this. I trusted the process. Yes.
You win. No, it's very good.
But just it's like the 3 years. This is the third time that we've successfully come here as a company, and just seeing people like recognize the fact that we are continuing to advance. We've done what we said it's going to do, and the quality of our shareholders is bearing fruit, and that fruit being we're consistently funded.
That's what I'm looking to see next year from you guys. We're going to move through those phases. So I'm super excited for you on that front. Just like a little bit on copper. Obviously, copper market. It's like a lot of metals at the moment. It's moving around a bit. It's hard to kind of read the trend. What I do see though on a fundamentals basis is not a lot of advanced copper stories out there. Is that a big part of the conversation with some of these institutional players, even the bankers?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing is like there's no small, medium copper mines in the world, right? So like they are everything on copper, and it's something that I find really interesting. Obviously, my background is in gold, and two of the deposits that I was part of in the early days are mined out already. Yaramoko in Burkina Faso is pretty much done. The Chang up in China is pretty much like. So if you've got a 12 to 15 to 20 year life of mine in a gold asset, that's an interesting thing. Copper assets typically, once they get up and running, like these are generational assets, and so I think the scale isn't different, and there aren't a lot of scale projects. So like one new project coming online eats up a lot of like the capacity that's needed, and that. So you're right. There's not a lot, and there's not a lot that are advancing, and there's not a lot that have credible financing behind them. Right. So I think we are entering a very rarefied atmosphere of right shareholders, right place, right commodity, right time.
Okay, I know you love it short and sweet, so that's it.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Loving what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Keep doing it, okay?
Will do. Thanks.